Hey guys, welcome to my channel and thank you so much for choosing me today. So for today's case, I'm going to be going over the Moses Sithole case. He was also one of South Africa's worst serial killers. Moses Sithole was known as the ABC serial killer or the ABC strangler. ABC standing for the areas of Atteridgeville, Boksburg and Cleveland. Now, what made Moses incredibly dangerous is the fact that he killed so frequently. Like there were bodies everywhere to the point where police thought that there was a possible second serial killer. They thought the same of Cedric Marke, which I covered in another video. But Moses had a blatant hatred for black women because of woman who had abused him in his past, and he was abandoned by his mother, which we will go through as the story goes. Moses was born on the 17th of November 1964 in Vosloorus, Gauteng. He was one of 5 children and he was born to parents Simon and Sophie Sithole. The family lived in great poverty, and the poverty got even worse when their dad died. So Sophie, Moses' mom, could not take care of 5 children on her own, especially now that her husband had passed away. So she decided to abandon them at a police station. The kids were subsequently placed in an orphanage in KwaZulu-Natal, but Moses did not last long. After about 3 years, or rather when he became a teenager, he ran away from the orphanage. He eventually found his brother Patrick, who he lived with, and landed a mining job in Johannesburg. As I mentioned before, Moses was sexually abused by a woman in his life. So what happened was this could have possibly played a part in his sexual curiosity. He became sexually precocious from a very young age. Now, like serial killers usually are, Moses was charming, Moses was handsome, he would dress in a suit, he would carry newspapers with him, to make him look more intelligent, or at least that added to his very intelligent look or demeanor. He had a way with words, and of course, when you approach women offering them a job, women believed him. Or an unemployed woman, something like that would seem credible, and they would usually give in, or almost always give in to his job offers. Now, another thing that contributed to Moses' hate, absolute hate for women, was the fact that he was wrongfully accused of rape. September of 1987 would be Moses' first recorded rape. Patricia Khumalo would be the first victim that reported being raped by Moses. Patricia happened to be Moses' girlfriend's sister, and she was 29 years old. 3 more rape victims ended up coming forward, also reporting against Moses. One of the 3 rape victims was named Buyiswa Doris Swagamisa, and she had been raped in 1989. And it would be Doris' police report that would result in Moses' arrest and trial in 1996. But of course, Moses denied everything. He pled not guilty and denied all of the allegations and charges against him. However, he was still sentenced to 6 years in prison. In 1993, though, he was released early due to good behavior. I will never understand being released on good behavior. It could be an act. To me, releasing somebody on good behavior is equivalent to confining me to a box that only allows me to sit, and then releasing me because I was sitting still. Of course I'm going to sit still. I have no other choice but to sit still. And it's the same for prison. They have no choice but to refrain from committing crimes because there are no women to rape. Now, this arrest sent Moses to the pits of hell in his mind because he came out relentless and even more angry and even more dark than he was before, because he felt like he was wrongfully accused of rape, and because of that he ended up in jail. So this only intensified and created more fury inside of him. He hated these women, specifically Patricia and Doris and whoever else testified against. He hated them, and that made him hate black women in general. So when he came out of prison, he had an epiphany. And not only that, when he was in prison, he too was subjected to the pain that he inflicted on these women. He was sodomized in prison. And it's also another crazy concept to me, because for a woman, our biggest fear in life in general is getting raped. Like, that is our fear every single day, because we are so like, at any moment a woman can walk out of a home and, you know, be met with a possible rapist. But men too in prison go to prison fearful of rape as well. How are you now scared when you were the monster who inflicted this pain onto your victims? But anyway, the fact that he was sodomized only also added to his fury when he came out of prison. So he realized that victims who are alive cause problems for him. And you would also think that, oh, you know what, I've been in prison, I do not want to come here again, maybe I should stop committing crimes, maybe I should stop raping women. But no, did I say raping women's? But no, instead he took it up a notch and said, okay, fine, I'm angry. Not only has this made me angry, but this made me realize that I need to kill now, because a dead victim cannot testify. Between the months of January to April 1995, 4 bodies belonging to young black women were found in Atteridgeville. They had been strangled and most probably raped. Now, before the police and the media knew who the serial killer was, the victims were strangled with pieces of clothing that they were wearing, whether it's stockings or their underwear or whatever the case was. And the way that they were strangled, the serial killer, before they knew who he was, would take a stick and tie it onto the piece of clothing so that they could wind. So they, not just the normal way of strangulation, they would wind and wind and wind and wind until you are completely restricted. So that was the method, or at least that progressed. That's how his method of strangulation progressed. And for Moses, the more pain that he inflicted onto his the more pain that his victims felt, the more gratification he felt. He loved that kind of thing. Having power, subduing women, really sent him on a high. So even with strangulation, in the documentary that I watched, when you strangle someone, okay, they will lose consciousness, but if you had to release, you know, your hand or however you are strangling them, then they will, you know, come back to life, kind of a thing. So he would prolong that process so that the person, the victim, is in agony for longer. Now, these 4 bodies that were found between January and April of 1995 would start a series of unfortunate events for the people in the area. Because the patterns were also similar, strangulation and possible rape, police had almost kind of concluded that it is the work of a serial killer. Now, what sent even more shockwaves throughout the country was the fact that a body of a 2-year-old child was found close to the victims. And from then, bodies just started being unearthed, being discovered throughout the area of Pretoria.
As the year wore on, police would discover a body every 2 weeks, then once a week, then 2 every week.
Yes, I'm very afraid. I can't even work in the night. I think he's making all the women scared, and then I don't feel very good about it. And when we go around in town or whatever, because we don't know where he stays, so I'm very scared and we don't know what to do.
It was hard for police to solidify the serial killer's profile. It was apparent that the killer wanted his victims to endure the utmost pain. By the 16th of September 1995, 10 more bodies were found with varying degrees of decomposition. The deaths were so frequent to the point where police or investigators, the forensic team, would clean up and collect bodies at a particular crime scene, and by the next day there would be a brand new body at the exact same crime scene. That's how blatant he was. This case even attracted President at the time, Nelson Mandela, to visit some of the crime scenes where these bodies were found. On the 23rd of September 1995, former FBI agent or FBI profiler Robert Ressler joined the case to help develop a serial killer profile. On the 7th of September, a victim by the name of Amelia Rapodile was last seen before an appointment with somebody by the name of Moses Sithole. With this victim, police finally had a name. And then a second victim had experienced a similar altercation and a similar connection. Even with the police buzzing everywhere, even with the manhunts, the serial killer was very much still active. He was not bothered. He was so unfazed by the fact that the media and the police are going crazy looking for him. On the 3rd of October 1995, a newspaper would receive a phone call from the apparent killer. Now, the serial killer would call in, or this person would call in, claiming he's a serial killer, and would talk to one of the reporters of the newspaper, and he would call so frequently to the point where there was a trust that was beginning to build. There was some sort of a friendship. I guess this was his way of like keeping them on their toes. And also he had power when he was in this position, because he's leaving dead bodies everywhere, and he still has the audacity to call a newspaper and claim to be the serial killer, like revealing himself but not really revealing himself. They had tried to create traps, or plan meetings to meet with the serial killer, but all these attempts had failed at this point. 3 more bodies were found within 10 days. At this point, the police had no choice but to reveal Moses' details via the newspaper and the media, etc. Now they finally had an idea. I think Moses' family member had visited the police and had told them that, he's been in contact with me. So what they decided to do was they decided to get the family member to meet up with Moses in the name of giving him a firearm, because I believe Moses was looking for some sort of protection or whatever the case is. And that plan worked, okay? And an undercover policeman intercepted, like bumped into him and, attempted to arrest him. Moses did not take it lightly. Like, he fought back to the point where the police officer shot him like 3 times in the leg and in the abdomen. And this was on the 18th of October 1995. On the 23rd of October 1995, Moses would be charged with 29 murders, and he denied everything. Now, on the 3rd of November 1995, he returned to Boksburg prison, which was the prison he was held in the first time for, you know, the rape incidences. He went back there to await his trial. Now, what I didn't mention was the fact that when he was in prison, I think the first time, that was when an interview was held in prison. I think it was by one of his cellmates, but anyway, it was an illegal interview because it was within the prison cells, and he was caught on camera, or rather recorded on camera, stating how much he hates women, and specifically black women.
It's like I was crossed, I was hate, I was aggressive.
Now, this is a year later, on the 21st of October 1996. His murder charges increased from 29 to 38 murders, including 40 counts of rape. And he still pleaded not guilty. And in the interview that, you know, he had in prison, he stated that all his targets resembled Buyiswa Doris Swagamisa. Another thing that was revealed in the interview was his killing techniques. Now, the defense tried to disregard that interview that he had in prison because it was actually illegal, but the judge ended up not siding with that because the interview did hold a whole confession, basically, so they still used it against Moses. Moses was also not a great witness. I mean, the culprit is never a great witness because their stories will always have holes in them because they are lying. Finally, on the 4th of December 1997, Moses was found guilty on all charges. Moses would have been sentenced to the death penalty, but this could not be done because in 1995, South Africa had already declared the death penalty unconstitutional. Therefore, he was sentenced to life imprisonment. And when I say life imprisonment, I mean 2,410 years in maximum security. And he would only be eligible for parole when he has served 930 years. Was revealed that he was actually HIV positive. He was sent to CMAX prison, which is like the highest security cell block. He was even receiving the best treatment for HIV, even better than the regular schmegular civilian in South Africa. So that is the Moses Sithole case. Tell me what you think about this case. This case is a famous one. I've seen quite a few YouTubers and I've seen like one documentary cover this case. So it's quite a famous one. People know about Moses Sithole. But if you had not known about Moses, let me know what you think about this case. Even if you do know about Moses, let me know what you know. Comment and tell me what you think. What do you think about releasing prisoners based on their good behavior? So give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next video. Cheers.